Hey guys, Jim Edwards here, along with Stu Smith, and welcome back to the Sales Copywriting Content Marketing Hacks podcast. Today, we're going to talk about mental toughness. Stu's like, what are you talking about, Jim? Whoa, wait a minute, because we just spent this whole pre-planning meeting time thing talking about what we're going to talk about. We'll get to that in just a minute. We're going to talk about some things that I do on the letting the chickens out with Jim, and Stu called it my daily brief, which sounds really cool. Not like wearing underwear thing, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like I actually am out there doing something cool instead of just talking to the camera while I'm letting out my farm fowl. But I don't want to talk about that right this minute. I want to talk about mental toughness.
Okay.
With the man who knows as much or more about mental toughness than anybody else I know. And so, Stu, before we start talking about such mundane topics as what I talk about when I let the chickens out, I would like for you, as a former Navy SEAL, as the guy who trains all the Spec Ops guys coming out of the United States Naval Academy now for 2.5 decades, what are your 3 biggest tips for being mentally tough right now when everybody is dealing with some very challenging situations at work, at home, in the economy, with their health, with their mental state? I would like your 3 biggest tips to get more mentally tough.
Man, you did not give me any preparation for this.
None.
That is
0.
pretty. Okay, here we go. First of all, you have to have a schedule and be persistent with that schedule, right? Whatever that is. And find something that you really want to do, right? And at first, that first phase of whatever you want to do is pretty motivating. Like whenever you first, I don't know, join a gym, everybody's like, oh, I'm going to join a gym. I'm motivated to go join a gym. But then, that doesn't last very long. A lot of people quit going. But whenever we first get that idea that kind of resonates deep with us, that we really want to achieve this, it's pretty motivating. But you got to use that motivation because it's fleeting. You got to use it fast. And during that time of motivation, you have to start building these habits. And these little habits of getting up early to get stuff done, or, spending an extra 30 minutes reading, or extra 30 minutes doing cardio, whatever your goal is, you have to start creating those habits while you are in this motivated state. Because typically it lasts about 2 weeks. And you're now no longer motivated. You're kind of tired. Maybe you're sore. You don't really see the results that you thought you would see 2 weeks ago. So you get a little, maybe even demotivated to a point. But if you've established some really good habits, you can actually use those habits to push past that motivation, and it gets into more of this discipline that you're creating. So your motivation has to evolve into discipline. And then the day that you don't work out, or the day that you work out or whatever, or you go to work or whatever, and you don't feel like it, you have just created a little bit of mental toughness, right? And it comes in little bitty increments. You don't just look at a poster and you're mentally tough. You don't read some quotes and you're mentally tough, right? You don't read a book and you're mentally tough. You create mental toughness by little bitty increments every single day. And some of the best times to do that is that first 10 minutes right before your alarm goes off, right? Let's say you wake up and you got 10 minutes before your alarm goes off. And there's probably not a more comfortable moment in your life than those 10 minutes. You're just laying there and you're like, oh man, I am just so comfortable right now. I just don't feel like moving. Maybe I can sleep for 10 minutes and then an alarm will wake me up, right? Whatever that is, right? If you can get up when that alarm rings and get moving, you have just made yourself a little more mentally tough. If you can get up and go over to and put on those running shoes, you've just made yourself a little more mentally tough. You take that first step of a run, you just made yourself a little more mentally tough. Or you go to a pool and you get wet before dawn. That's hard because it's cold and you don't feel like getting wet. but you do anyway. Those are little increments that can build the mental toughness. So it's kind of like getting
Or you sit
comfortable
down
being
at your computer.
uncomfortable.
If you say you're going to write a book, you sit down at your computer and start typing.
Yes.
And or if you say you're going to spend time with your kids, you stop what you're doing, mentally check yourself, get your attitude right, and then go spend time with your kids, leaving the phone and the email behind.
Yes. I apply this to fitness. That's just because what I do, but you can apply this to anything, any goal, any state of mind, any situation. You can apply that, and you just keep moving. That's the
Okay.
biggest thing. Just keep moving.
What about when you screw up and you want to kick yourself and say all hope is lost?
Yeah, you got to get over that, because that is a common thing that happens, right? And you have to realize it's just natural, right? We all fail. We're human. We err. That is what we do. We make mistakes. Things happen, right? And you're going to make a mistake in this journey somewhere, whether you do too much or you don't do enough, or you eat a whole pie or something, and right, and you've lost all your discipline. You're going to make mistakes like that. You just got to realize that that is part of the journey. You're going to make a mistake. You got to get back up and do it again. Start over.
Now, if you do screw up and something, does that mean you're not mentally, you've like lost all your mental toughness and you might as well say to hell with it and never start again? Or are there some tips for if you lose momentum, or if you get derailed, or if things happen, do you have any suggestions for how you can get back in the game and start building momentum again?
No, you don't lose your ability to be mentally tough. And if it was a life or death situation, we would all be mentally tough in an instant, right? Because you are going to want to survive. Trust me. So we have it in us. It's just when we can direct it in that right area of what we're focused on, and in the right direction of moving forward. But the best thing to do is just keep moving, keep doing
Something.
Yeah.
Anything about external motivation versus internal motivation? What's the difference and which one's better?
Man, you tear me up on this one. A lot of people think motivation is crap. I personally like it. I think being motivated personally makes me happy. Now, there are days when I'm not motivated, and that's when I have to rely on those habits I've created and the discipline I've made. But internal motivation is, you got self-motivation. That is very, very important. You have to have that. But it's also a good way to check your self-motivation is to tell other people about it. Hey, this is my goal. This is what I want to do. Right. And then maybe they'll check you on it as well. Or, so you've had some, or you see somebody else doing the same goal that you want to do, and having that sort of external motivation motivate you, that is completely fine as well. But in the end, it comes down to just you and your thoughts. And there's going to be a moment when you're just tired. You don't feel like doing anything. You've failed. You've made mistakes. And it is nothing more than your will to want to achieve that goal that keeps you moving.
Right. One of the things that I've noticed over the years, because, I've changed who I am at my core as far as things especially with working out and stuff. And what I've noticed is that motivation, whether it's internal or external, is almost like a big lighter or a spark. It sparks something, but what it hopefully sparks is your habit, which builds a discipline, all based around a clear vision of what you want. So it's almost like if you were to think of a fire analogy, like a campfire. Motivation can be the spark, or it can be a cup of gasoline but you have to, if that doesn't get poured on something that's going to burn, the discipline with a purpose, then it'll flame out.
Sure.
But if it's been raining, if it's been cold, and discipline and your purpose are there. They haven't disappeared, but maybe you got sick. Maybe they got wet. Maybe it's, maybe it's got some frost on it. Then a shot, no, seriously, like a shot of motivation on top of that is what it takes to get it going again. And sometimes you got to start small and build back up. So like with an exercise motivation, I'll get to the point where I'm doing some pretty crazy workouts. And then inevitably throughout the year, we all get sick, or we get injured, or something happens, a family thing happens, we get knocked off. And so sometimes you have to come back at it with kind of easing back into it. But you also, if you can harness motivation. Like there are certain videos I'll watch that will remotivate me, be like, man, it's just like, screw this. I'm back in the saddle right now. There's one in particular I watch of a triple amputee guy who was doing it's not Rugged Maniac, it's the one Spartan. He was doing a Spartan race with a bunch of other amputees.
Yep.
And all I have to do if I feel like I'm weak or something is watch that, and I'm like ready to go out and just kill it.
Yep.
And so using those things to kind of reignite the habits and the discipline based around a purpose, I think is really important. And I can do the same thing with Rocky movies. Any Rocky movie I can use to get myself back going.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so happy that we hate the Russians again, because it just makes the Rocky movies that much more poignant, And maybe we'll be able, I'm just going to go off the rails. Maybe we'll get lucky, and in the next few years, the Chinese will turn into our enemies like the Russians were when you and I were growing up, and we'll have all kinds of cool movies where we can hate them too. Hey,
who knows?
Is what it is, huh?
Who knows?
just anyway, we hate the communists. So my point in all of this, and the reason I wanted to bring this up, is because, like I said, Stu knows more about being mentally tough than anybody else I've ever met. And he knows how to help people to become more mentally tough through physically developing themselves. And I know this is true because of the results that he helps other people get. So that's why I wanted to talk with him about that, because right now I think mental toughness is going to spell the difference between success or failure, not only in the short term, but in the long term too. Because the world is going to be different. The world is not going to go back to exactly the way it was. We're going to have some struggles ahead of us in society, politically, interpersonally, just there are going to be struggles ahead economically. And the people who are mentally tough, the people who have high self-esteem, the people who know that they are able to handle whatever comes at them in all areas of life are going to be the leaders, are going to be the people that others look to, and they're going to be the ones, they'll be the last ones standing when all is said and done. So the more mentally tough you can become now, the more it's going to pay dividends for years and years to come. But very much so in the short and medium term too. So
yeah, something else that's I would say is a part of mental toughness, and that is internal and external awareness, right? So you realize when you are stressed, you realize when you're happy, sad, whatever, right? You have that internal awareness to understand it and fix it and react to it. Sometimes I realize when I'm starting to get a little cranky, I'm just a little hungry. So all I need to do is eat. So I have some internal awareness instead of just snapping at everybody because didn't realize I was hungry. I'm like, maybe I'm starting to act like a jerk just because I'm a little hungry.
Sounds like a Snickers commercial.
Getting a little hangry. But external awareness is very important too, because you see what's going on in the world. You see what's happening in business. You know that whether you own a business, you're also a consumer of other people's businesses, and you know what it's going to require for you to go back into a restaurant, or for you to go back into uh, a hotel, or get on a plane, or whatever. So there are situations where that's probably not going to be very uncommon for other people. So now, how can you make people feel more comfortable about coming to your business and paying you money to do what you do, right? I would say it's going to be, some foresight that's going to help you with that, and being able to realize that, hey, I need to be really clean in here. I need to look like I'm cleaning. I need to be cleaning. I need to have
We
cleaners.
increase sales by handing all of our associates a rag until anytime you see somebody, you be wiping some stuff down.
Yeah,
Sales
I'm
went up
serious.
25%.
I'm serious. I mean, it is going to be a medical level cleaning style for the foreseeable future if you
Yeah.
want people to come into your business.
And I think mental toughness also is having the resolve to make the changes you're going to have to make in order to move forward. Because some people are curled up in a little ball under their desk going, please, God, make it stop. And that it ain't.
Yeah, don't be
It's
scared of change. I mean, that's,
yeah,
change is uncomfortable. And
yeah,
I would say probably one of the best definitions I ever heard of mental toughness was getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
right.
And also one of my favorites is finding the fuel when the tank is empty. That is, mental toughness is such a hard thing to define. But those two quotes right there, I think, do it the best service. Just because it is difficult to explain what it is and how you get it.
So let me ask you this real quick and then we'll wrap this up. But you said something that made me think, and this is this may not have been what you said, but it's what I heard. You also need to get good at being kind of an observer of yourself and an observer of other people and what's going on externally. So observing almost like the impartial third party observer inside you, and what's going on inside and what's going on outside.
Yes.
Would and this is just my total curiosity, when you were a Navy SEAL, when you were going through buds, which seems to be a real defining point in a man's life, when especially in that profession, because it's one of the things that unites a special group of guys. Did you use any of those techniques? Did you have that level of understanding at that time in your life, or instinctively did you ever look at things from the outside rather than internalizing? Did you try and use that technique in any time during your time in the Navy SEALs or training?
Not that I can actually think I did. Where I actually used it more was when we were actually in the SEAL teams.
Okay.
Meaning, situational awareness, external awareness, situational awareness. We would always be aware of what's going on around us. Is there a threat around us? What's the exits? How many people are in here? How many males? How many females? There's little things like that I would always do whenever, no matter what situation it is. It was just one of those habits that I created. And then also, having some internal awareness of just like, why am I nervous right now? What is going on? What's telling me that I'm nervous, that I'm not sensing with my conscious, but maybe my unconscious is giving me a bad vibe somewhere? Like, why is that? Or, or if I'm nervous or jittery, and I have to think rationally, so I realize that I need to take a big deep breath, relax, shoot, or whatever that is. So there's a lot of little things that can help you, get through those moments of intense for lack of a better term, nervousness. But you have to be aware that it's occurring, because a lot of people just aren't aware that they're nervous or aren't aware of their external situations, and then they become victims of some sort. So I've always tried to explain it as, that is part of, mental toughness, is also understanding, why you're in this situation, and think of, logical ways to get out of that situation if you have to. Um, and it's just an awareness thing, internal awareness, external awareness. You can look at it as self-motivation, external motivation. They're all kind of related in some way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it just makes you a more complete asset in those situations, is what I'm trying. So I'm trying to tell
Okay.
people is that the end result is to be an asset, whatever that is, whether you're a physical asset to be able to carry somebody out of a facility, or your mental or tactical asset where you can think your way through situations. That is where you want to be. And that is why we strive to get mentally tough, so we can apply it in those scenarios.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Well, this has been a special ambush edition of the Sales Copywriting Content Marketing Hacks podcast, where I asked Stu questions about things he had no idea they were coming, because I didn't want to talk about what he wanted to talk about with me today. So it was pretty good.
Well, let's see if we can move it into what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, well,
Right?
we're out of time for today.
Well, real quick. You have
Okay.
a really great segment in the morning called Letting the Chickens Out with Jim, where you
Right.
just kind of riff on things that are on your mind. And this
Right.
week you had a few things on your mind, like I wish I knew about sales copy when I started. Face things head on, pivot, shift and move ahead of the curve, and trust your judgment. Those were just 4
Right.
daily segments that you had. And my question to you was, what was going on in your mind to have these type of topics? And then you hit
So
with this mental toughness thing. And I think they're all kind of related.
they are.
Yeah.
And what it is right now in my life, I am trying to be more externally focused, and being careful of what's going on in the world, and to be mindful, and to have some foresight, and to try to anticipate the changes as they come or before they come, because it's not, my role in my family's life, my business and everything has transformed over the last, let's say 32 years, 30 years
Sure.
since I became an adult. Okay. I'm now the elder in the family. I'm the physically functional elder in the family, if that makes sense. That I'm not the oldest male, I'm not the wisest male, but I'm the one that people look to for action and help, and you know what I mean? It's
Sure.
like dad. If we got a problem, we call dad. We don't call grandpa, we call dad. And so I've been trying to develop myself, and also just to be aware of what's going on, be a guide, be a mentor, be an example, be I don't want to say a sage, but just be the radar set for the rest of the family. Kind of like out there with the chickens. I mean, we've got 4 roosters, but there's one rooster who is the head rooster that keeps all the other roosters in check. And he's the one that looks for danger. He's the one that alerts everyone for what's going on. He's the one that herds all the chickens inside at night when it's
Nice.
time to go to bed. I mean, that's his job. He's the man. And so I've been really consciously trying to develop myself, and then in turn being a leader, turn around and alert the people who choose to listen to me, who choose to follow me, on the things I think are important right now, and do it in a way that is empowering rather than a way that is scary or would make someone, paralyzed, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, sure.
empower, educate, entertain a little bit. But that's my purpose right now. Some life skills instead of just, hey, you need to learn about copywriting, because yes, that's important and I'm not abandoning that, but I'm pivoting a little bit
Yeah.
into an area that I think is important. And if I have a message I think is important to share, then I share it. And if people want to hear it, then they hear it. And if they don't, then they can tune into somebody else. But where else in the entire Facebook world are you going to see some chucklehead with a too long goatee letting out chickens and talking about philosophy? I think I'm the only one.
Yeah, there you go. But anyway, I wanted to, I guess, do a show on your letting the chickens out with Jim. Why did
Uh-huh.
you come up with that? I mean, it could have been anything. I
Well,
don't need to know why you came up with letting chickens out, but why do you do that daily bit of content?
well, okay. The reason I do the letting chickens out with Jim is I've actually studied a lot about habits. And I've read a lot of books about habits, about creating habits, about breaking habits, and how to get other people to create habits. And one of the core rules is that if you want to create a new habit, the easiest way to do it is to tag it on to something that you're already doing.
Right.
So when do you usually brush your teeth in the morning, Stu? Probably right before you get in the shower. When do you brush your teeth at night? Right before or after you put on your pajamas. There's just certain things you do tagged on to other things. So I had decided, one of the things that I need to do is create content every single day. I need to create value every single day. So what could I tag that onto? And for a while I tried to do it. I'd send myself the night before, I'd send myself an idea for an article and I'd write the article or do the video. As soon as I open my email in the morning, it was tagged to open in my email. The problem is that there's dozens, if not hundreds of other bullshit in there that I got to deal with. And so I was in a crap mood when it was time to create content. And then it dawned on me one day, you know what? I'm going outside to let the chickens out every single day. I have to do that. So why not use that time walking between the house and the chicken run to record a video? And so as a goof, I said, I just turned on my phone. I just did it. I didn't debate about it. I didn't, I just walked out, turned my phone on, and said, hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Letting the Chickens Out with Jim. I mean, I've tried different, welcome to another edition of Taking the Trash to the End of the Driveway with Jim. Welcome to another edition of Walking Around the Yard with Jim. I mean, I'm just being a smart ass. But the funny thing is that it gave me enough time to do a 3 to 5 minute video, the walk over there. I mean, you've been to my house. I walk over there, I let the chickens out, I open up the gates, I do all this other stuff. It's about 3 to 5 minutes, which is a great length for a video. So after I did it a couple times, and then people were like, hey man, this is kind of cool. I said, okay, let's keep doing it. And then I've learned and made distinctions. I've really, applied hooks and thinking about the hooks. And yes, it looks like I'm just talking trash off the top of my head, but I actually do prepare for the video. Not a ton of preparation, but I will use one of the wizards to come up with the outline of what I want to talk about, or at minimum, I'll write down, here are the 3 things I want to talk about.
Nice.
And then remembering stuff. And if I want to tell a story, and then hook, story, tip, loop, offer, all these things have come out of doing that consistently. So it's like my little, it's like my little content marketing warm up in the morning. But all these cool things come from it because I can have those transcribed and turned into articles. People, respond, they ask questions that can turn into future episodes. There's so much stuff that comes out of that 3 to 5 minutes, but the key is the habit. The key is the consistency. The key is the persistence. because you're not going to build results. We'll go back to the working out analogy. You're not going to get any results doing it once. In fact, you might hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But if you do it every single day, then you can get some amazing results really, really fast. And relatively speaking, it's kind of like the podcast. It's like we talked about doing a podcast, talking about doing a podcast, but the podcast didn't get done until there was a time, a date, a system, all that stuff. So.
Yep, that's good. Now tell me this, before there was letting the chickens out with Jim, there was this unicorn fascination. Where did that come from? And now let's think about it, how it evolved into your branding today.
Basically me being a smart ass, you know, all the political stuff, like you're all puppies, no politics, because nobody cares about your political opinion.
So I post a cute picture of a puppy, and then I give this snarky hashtag and little tagline afterwards. Because, you know, I just post about puppies and not politics, and because no one cares about your political opinion. I did that because of all the politics out there. It just drives me crazy. So, you know, I just posted that. And I know that's what you did too, probably about, when was it? 2016?
Yeah.
Our last election? Yeah.
Yep.
2015.
It was actually 2015 was when it started.
Yeah.
So I just started posting stuff and did it consistently. That was the biggest thing. I mean, it was basically a big FU, and I'll post unicorn stuff because it's stupid. And then I started getting into it, and I was loving it and digging it. And now it's, you know, it gets great. It became like my,
it is part
of
your branding now. You have a unicorn on funnel scripts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're getting ready to relaunch Funnel Fridays now. And the mascot for it is a unicorn. The mascot for Funnel Fridays now is a unicorn. So that's pretty cool and a lot of fun. And so that's, anyway, I'll show you, let me show you this real quick, but this is, you guys can't see this, but this is the unicorn. This is the unicorn mascot. And then this is the one that we're trying to help on the right. This is cool, right?
Yeah, I like it.
So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on with that. So I'm, you know, it's one of those things that you start doing something consistently, and you can get some results. And
it catches on, and next thing you know, people now associate you with a certain thing. Right. And
exactly.
And chickens out. It's also with unicorns, you know, and your business. So it has some branding ability to it.
Right. But the thing to understand is that until you do something consistently, you can't build any momentum and you can't make any distinctions. So that's the other thing, is that it's consistency is what gives you a foundation for change.
Exactly. That's what
because that's how you learn stuff, and by learning stuff you can get better. But if you only do something once, you didn't learn anything. You can't learn anything. So
yeah.
Anyway, cool. Well, I think this was good. This was a good episode.
Yeah, you blindsided me, but yeah.
That's what friends are for. I've known you long enough. I know you can't.
Oh, I don't mind. I've answered. I did a podcast yesterday on the very topic, so
there you go.
It worked out well.
So what should everybody do now, Stu?
Well, I would say go to the Sales Copy Content Marketing Hacks Facebook group and join, and then you'll see thousands. 14,000 members plus. We over that now? How much have you grown? You were last I saw it was 14,000.
We have 15,323 members now.
Look at you.
That's
Yes,
pretty cool, right?
that is really cool. You are growing over there. And what we do is it's a great group of people who are very helpful with doing, asking, answering questions about the wizards, about sales copy, about business ideas. And I enjoy going over there. In fact, I a lot of times I'll go through it, answer some questions, or I'll just go through and copy down some stuff. And that's what we're going to be discussing in the next show. So there you
There
go.
you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.